are back, and we are recording this on December 28th, getting ready for the upcoming game at home against the Bears. So we have a lot to talk about previewing that game as the Lions are still trying to make the playoffs. We have a special guest. We'll get into that in a moment, entering the Lions Den. But before we do, let's get around and introduce the rest of the Blue Kool-Aid crew that is here. So I'm Big Z. Let's get to the other two. So we got Rut Dog.
Yo.
And then we got UJ.
Happy New Year, Lions fans.
All right. So the Lions, as I look it up right now, I'm going to go to the, oh, shoot. I lost it when I transferred screens here. I'm just looking up the live line, but the Lions are 6-point favorites at home. This is, of course, a 1 o'clock Eastern noon kickoff, just like every other game this year. And the over-under is 52. So another high-scoring affair they're expecting at Ford Field, and I think that favors the Lions. Jared Goff and the Lions' offense has been red hot at home, especially compared to their road performance on offense. So a lot to look forward to there. But before we get to enter the Lions, then just that we've gotten away from that Panthers game, UJ. How do you feel coming into this week with 2 weeks left? Kind of where the Lions sit in the playoff race. Just how are you feeling right now? Just your emotion.
I feel okay. The key to this game is Campbell getting their minds on track again after a letdown like that, and let them know it's not the end of the world. You know, this kind of stuff happens, and get back on the horse again. So if we can do that, I think we'll be perfectly fine against this Bears team. It scares me. The only thing that scares me slightly about this game is that the Bears have literally nothing to lose. Teams like that can be dangerous, as you saw we were last year at the end of the season, and no one wanted to play us either. So just from that aspect, the Lions do have to keep their guard up, but I do like them this week at home, little home cooking, little Goff going, tearing it up. It's going to be great. I think we're going to be okay.
And you, Road Dog?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a dangerous team, no doubt. Every team's dangerous in the league, but they got a couple weapons, mainly one in that Fields guy. But other than that, I feel like as long as we play the complete football we were before last week, I'm not too worried about it. This team's got all the tools to beat anybody.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And we'll get into that a little more, and we'll get into our predictions at the end of the episode. But right now, I want to dive right into it since our guest is waiting, and we've waited a long time for him to come on the podcast. I don't know what we're in the 200 somewhere in the podcast realm, but he has yet to come on. He is entering the Lions for the first time, and I don't know if he'll escape with his life. We'll find out at the end. But
he has no idea what he's doing.
Bear fan Dan, a.k.a. Big Z, me, Big Z's father.
What?
So, yes, that is right.
Oh, my.
Bear fan Dan, welcome to the podcast, Dad.
Oh,
Thanks, guys, for having me in. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
This is a big matchup here for the Lions. Probably their biggest game in 10 years.
I don't know about 10 years.
Could be a slight exaggeration there.
Yeah,
we get the
playoff
point.
appearances might be
when was the last time they were in the playoffs? 2014 or?
Oh, God, you're right. It might actually be about 10 years.
Yeah, right. So
9 years. Come on, it's 9.
I mean,
oh, man.
You realize since 2018, the Bears are 7-2 against the Lions.
Well, that was the Patricia era where they went 6-0. So.
Well, it doesn't matter. There's still the Lions and the Bears, you know. I mean, the Bears have been bad too, you know. I mean, during that era, the Matt Nagy era, it's terrible, you know.
Yeah, but you don't have Trubisky anymore. That's a big key.
Well,
2017, we lost to Seattle on the wild card.
That's certainly an imbalance I think we would like to remedy.
Yeah,
starting this week.
So the Bears beat the Lions in Detroit the last 4 years. Now, granted, they're a little different team right now. They're a little different team right now, and the Bears are a little different team, you know. But, I mean, the Bears went through some down years there. I mean, in the Matt Nagy era, I mean, the last 2 years basically were a waste, you know. So, but, I mean, the Lions have struggled, no doubt. I mean, against the world, not only just the Bears, but
all right. Dan's just coming in here throwing haymakers. I think we need to get let's turn this tables a little bit here, Dan. Why are you a Bears fan? Let's start there.
Yeah, why
that's
are
a
you?
good question.
Well,
Yeah. It's the first
I
question
think
we ask
the
everybody.
question is, how are you Chicago guys, the most loyal Lions fans I've ever met in my life?
No. We'll answer
No,
that
you can't turn
second.
it on
You
us.
answer first. No.
We're not in the Bears.
Well, this is my hometown team. This is my hometown team. You know what? I did some checking earlier, just some quick checking. You know, the Bears and the Lions have played for the last 93 years, every year.
Yeah.
Every year.
Awesome.
Do you know what the overall record, Lions versus the Bears, are? I mean, two of the charter franchises of the NFL. Do you guys know what the record is?
We don't need to know that.
The overall record?
I want to
Simple
know.
Google search. But I mean, the Bears are 104, the Lions are 76 and 5 ties.
I believe the
What's your
Bears have the
point?
second most wins over like one franchise. Like I believe Washington over the Giants is the only other most wins over another franchise that was just broken this year. That's how I'm familiar with that record, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We're about to see a 70-game swing here, Dan.
I can reasonably predict that 50 years from now, those numbers are going to be much more in our favor now. So there.
What, like
you know,
150?
All right.
Wait, I got a question for my dad. So, Dad, you give us a bunch of crap for being Lions fans all the time, but how did you let me become a Lions fan?
Oh yeah.
Well,
good question.
I tried to make you grow up and make your own decisions in life, and clearly I realize that's a mistake right now. But you know, it's hard to go back on that, right? But
it doesn't.
I think UJ was a.
I think it was a successful fathering.
I'll never let UJ own up to it, but he's a bad influence in your life too. You know? If there was any way we could stop him from, if there was any way we could stop him from coming to their family parties, he'd be out. So, but I love him too much, so that can't happen.
Oh boy.
Oh man.
Yeah, but it's a fun. Hey, we have a fun Thanksgiving. You know what? There's nothing more fun than the Lions guys coming every year for Thanksgiving and seeing them go home about 3:00 and with their toes between their legs. You know.
No, jeez. All right. I mean, this Bears team, they're trying to lose this game, right? They have the top 2 pick right now. They could potentially get the number 1 pick if the Texans win the last 2 games. And they're looking at either Will Anderson or they can trade back and get a bunch of draft capital they desperately need. What do you think there?
I think that's the plan, right? Get a high pick and then trade out of it, you know, so you get more picks. Although I don't understand what they're doing really with the Chase Claypool deal. I thought they were really on track and had a good plan. And then they throw a second-round pick out for a guy that's probably going to get cut by the Steelers anyways. I didn't understand that. So it makes you really worry about the direction that the Bears are headed in. But, you know, the Lions, you got to give them a lot of credit. The way they're rebuilding their franchise here. I mean, I wasn't a big Dan Campbell fan from the start, but, you know, you hear a lot of good things about how he keeps the locker room together, and he's got these guys playing hard, you know. I mean, you know, it's pro ball, it's NFL ball. You're going to have letdowns like they had in Carolina last week. Me and UJ were talking about it. You know, you could just see it coming against Carolina, the letdown, you know. And on the road, they're a totally different team. That's the thing. I think if you guys as Lions fans, you need to be worried about is the week 18 against Green Bay, because you know you should beat the Bears this week, and then it's going to come down to that Green Bay game outdoors and the Lions away from home. You know,
slick move there, Dan, trying to make us look past the Bears. We're not going to let it happen. We're going to take you guys down this week. No, but I got a question about what you think about the future. Do you think Fields survives long enough to be good in this league?
I don't understand why they keep running them and stuff like that. Last week, I didn't think they'd have them running. This week, you know how many yards he had rushing against the Lions the first time?
Oh, yeah, a ton.
147.
It's crazy.
Yeah, they had 420-something yards of offense. I mean, but to the Lions' credit, they had 21 points in the fourth quarter to pull out that win.
Yeah.
And it was a Santos missed extra point that gave it to him. You know.
Right.
So I mean, I think this game is going to be a lot of the same, a lot of high scoring. I mean, I don't think the Bears have as many playmakers as they had back then. You know, they're gone now with Quinn gone and with Roquan Smith gone, and you know, Mooney. They got no receivers left. I mean,
What do you think
Yeah.
about
it's
those
the
moves?
running game
Those
though that you get. The running game is what you got to worry about, though, if you're a Lions fan. You know, they just can't stop the run, and that's what the Bears are leading the NFL in running, rushing.
You got the best running back at quarterback.
Well, I mean, Montgomery's I mean, he's a quality runner, you know. And then you got Herbert back now. So if you guys are, you know, as Lions fans, what you got to really worry about is how are they going to stop the rush? I mean, Carolina comes out and rushes down their throat like they did. You know, I listen to I listen to that ticket when I'm in the morning sometimes, and they were talking about how the Lions had no, you know, how tackling's an attitude. They had they didn't want to touch the Carolina runners.
That's exactly true.
So I don't understand where that. Yeah, I don't know where that attitude on defense comes from.
I'm glad to see the influence rubbing off on you too. Listen to Detroit.
It was a breaking attitude, Dan.
Yeah, because the six before that game, though, Dan, we were unbelievably run-stopping defense. We stopped some of the best running backs in football and held them to hardly anything. And that game, we suddenly broke down and couldn't. So that's why I think just a one-game letdown is what I'm banking on here. Not a trend.
The unique thing you guys got going is that your quarterback is your best runner, and that's been our biggest struggle.
But you know, Rud Dog, he only ran for 12 yards or something last week. You know, his over/under was 75. So they may be telling him, "Hey, try to pass the ball." Because I saw him; he didn't even look to run last week. He was trying to pass him more.
Yeah, there's no reason. There's no reason for the Bears to risk his health with 2 meaningless games left because they're not going to play off. Yeah, totally so that's why I like the Bears or the Lions more this week because I think Justin Fields is not going to be looking to rush like he was the first time around.
He'll be able to rush if he wants to.
If he wants to, but I'm saying he's not going to.
Yeah, I didn't see him wanting to last week against who did lose the last week? The
Bills. The Bills. I think they're happy to lose. The Bears are putting a product out there that's going to show up, but not show out, which is really beneficial to the Lions here. UJ, do you have a question for my father?
Well, Bear fan Dan, come on, give it to me.
And I know listeners, if you're longtime listeners of the podcast, you might have known that my wife, a Packers fan, has also been on here. So look at what I'm dealing with in my life. I married a Packers fan, and my father is a fan. I like to make my life a living hell as much as I can.
We apologize. I apologize for my son, fans.
Well, Bear fan Dan, since you claimed the nickname Bear fan Dan, you must be a pretty big fan. So you must know the Bears song. You must. So we're asking you here on the pod to sing this Bears fight song for us.
Let's hear it.
At least the chorus.
Forging backwards down the field. Yield, yield, yield.
No, that's your song?
Oh, okay. That's the wrong song.
The Bears fight song.
It's NFL football. Nobody cares about the fight songs. How do you have a fight song when you're 3-14 or whatever?
You gotta have a fight song.
Tradition.
Bear fan, Dan.
He's just trying to cover up for
it. He's covering up for the fact that he doesn't know the song. Wow.
Do you know? Oh, you don't know it? Or
is it you Lions fans are just jealous because you don't have a stadium like the Bears with a spaceship inside of it.
Yeah.
No, we're
not for too much longer, right? For the Bears.
Hey, one of the best sites.
Lakeside property.
Red Dog, I'm very... Go ahead. Sorry.
No. One of the best sights as a Lions fan, you had to admit, was when they blew up the Silverdome, right?
Well,
I don't know. You got to ask UJ that. I was too young to understand what was going on.
I actually went to a couple of games there, and it was cool. I was kind of young, and it was cool because it was so big and different. You know, had a big bubble top and all that. And we ate in the restaurant there, me and my dad. And, it was kind of cool. They had a dirt bike hanging from the ceiling because they also race Supercross in that place, which is my other favorite sport. And it was just really cool. It was big and it was really weird. Like you walk in, the thing was held afloat by air. Air pushed in there. It's like when you open the front door, it almost blows your back because the pressure of the air coming out of the dome. It was really weird, but it was fun. But no, Ford Field's like 100 times better than that place.
Yeah, it looks like a cool field. I've never been to Ford Field, but it looks pretty cool.
We'll have to go. We'll have to go.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about some of the great lions of history.
Oh.
Oh, God.
These are just some names that.
A lot of them.
No, there are a lot of them actually.
There's a
Barry
lot of them.
Sanders. Barry Sanders obviously is the greatest lion of all time, right?
I would
Probably
Arguably.
probably the second best player. Definitely the second best running back in NFL history, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Walter Payton is
Who's
the
second
GOAT.
best?
Well,
I think Barry Sanders is the best running back. Walter Payton's the best player. I think there's a difference.
Interesting.
Walter
that's
Payton
the
was
way
a
I
more
look at it.
rounded
Just
player
pure
as far as
runner?
like blocking and things like that.
I mean, even
pure
us, we
runner.
were too young to see Gail Sayers and Jim Brown
and-
play, but of this era, it's got to be Barry Sanders was. I mean, he was a great runner. I mean, Walter Payton, no, he had some great runs too. But how about the second best Lions probably player? But both of them, Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson, they didn't play long enough to be like the greatest. You know what I'm saying? But Calvin Johnson had some great years too. You know.
He did.
But
He did.
Oh, yeah.
But how about a couple of their kickers they had forever, like Eddie Murray and Jason Hansen? That was like a 30-year span of two kickers, wasn't it?
It
Yeah,
was.
awesome.
Remarkable.
And it was capped off with the end of what's his face's career, the drunk guy who we got lucky to have.
Matt
Yeah,
Prater.
Yeah, Prater, he had a great stretch with us.
So what? He wanted a few
And
drinks.
both,
He had to have-
what's your
combined
point here?
playoff victory.
What's your point here bringing up these names?
Yeah, I'm curious where you're
Yeah,
going.
you getting
Oh,
somewhere?
Yeah, a bunch of great players that did nothing in the you got no, how many?
Okay, gotcha.
Look at Matt Stafford. He was a great player, but he had to go to LA to get his Super Bowl. Right?
Yeah.
Boy.
How about Herman Moore?
Herman
Hey,
Moore,
there's
yeah.
nobody who had some greater years as a wide receiver than Herman Moore during his era.
He did. He was
All right.
awesome.
This is
Dan,
the
Chris
weirdest
Spielman.
backhanded compliments ever. Like I'm.
Oh, Chris Spielman. Chris Spielman
right,
was a great.
all right.
line-
Stop.
Well, Chris
Corey
Spielman's
Substitute.
on Sunday organization right now.
I'm just
so-
talking about all these guys that if you talk to them, they probably will just sit there and shake their head like, why did I join this franchise? Because they could have been
Okay,
somebody. You know?
Well,
Well,
Dan,
again, Chris Spielman came back. Chris Spielman came back. He is
Yeah,
he's
still
right.
with the organization.
He's with the
So-
team
Barry
now.
loves the Lions,
Barry
so there.
Sanders is like an advocate for the Lions right now. So,
That's
all right,
right.
Dad, I'm
Yeah,
going to cut you off.
I-
I'm going to cut you
Hey,
off
no,
for now.
hey,
We're
wait,
gonna go to
one more
Red Dog.
thing, big
Question.
Bear fan Dan. You're only talking like this. You won a Super Bowl in '85, and that was pure luck, lightning in a bottle. You can only do it 1 year. As great a team as that was, and I'll admit that was a great fucking team, and you could only win it 1 year. I'll explain that one. Never mind. Don't. You're just living on the laurels of 1985, man, and you're going to be living on it for the next 50 years too, while we're winning multiple Super Bowls. So there.
Yeah.
Hey, UJ, you're exactly right. We never had Fred Flintstone light a cigar on TV and celebrate his playoff clinching.
All right. All right. So,
Dan,
we're
I got
going to
a
go to Red
question.
Dog with this question.
All right.
Okay.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 1
10,
being faced
10.
by a pride of actual. Do you want to know what 10 is? Because 10 is okay. 1 is you faced by actual lions that are going to eat you and they're hungry, and 10 is you lose all your bets during New Year's on all the betting games. Then
Well,
sports.
10's already happened probably, but I lost like 9 in a row in the college bowl polls.
So still the 10 then?
Like, yeah, I told you 10.
All right.
Best answer yet.
There you have it.
Oh.
Oh, man.
Hey,
We knew we'd be in trouble
one-
with this guest, Dan.
I know.
I mean, Z.
Wiley.
hey, one
I
other
don't
great.
know. I
one
mean, he's
other
getting
thing
beat
I
up
wanna-
here, but we're beating him up pretty good. So
Wait,
Yeah.
well, one other thing I want to talk about the Lions. Like Campbell, he's really surrounded himself with a lot of pro coaches that have had a lot of acclaimed
experience.
careers, right? Let's talk about them.
Mhm.
Deuce Staley, right? Deuce Staley.
Yeah.
Mark Brunell. Mark
Yep.
Brunell.
Yeah.
Ben Johnson, who I think every open job on that Black Monday is going to come, and Ben Johnson's name is going to be mentioned, right? It's already being mentioned.
Mhm.
Who's done a pretty good job, right? Antoine Randall L.
Wide receivers
Yep.
coach. Yep.
Yeah, right. Aaron Glenn. I don't know, but he's been around. He's been around as a defensive coordinator. I don't know. They probably
He's a
could find
cornerback, I believe, in the league.
they could probably find a replacement for him actually, though. And JT Barrett just barely out of the game, right? The name that we all recognize from Ohio State, Lord, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hey, Johnny Morton, this guy Johnny Morton. I had to look again because remember the Lions had a wide receiver, Johnny Morton,
Yeah.
but he was a horse of a different color. But not the same Johnny Morton. But
Are you working towards a point?
I think so.
Well,
I'm curious.
Well, it's just a lot of guys that probably know the rules to help the guy that doesn't know the rules, the head guy that
That's
doesn't
the
know the
point.
rules.
He's always at some point.
Oh my goodness.
Jeez.
That was a
No,
long
actually,
setup.
Campbell, me and you've talked about it. Campbell, I kind of, I was like, I thought it was kind of a joke, but he has turned into a pretty good coach. I mean, he's a fiery coach, which that franchise needed, Actually, I thought Calhoun was a good coach for the Lions during his time there because they needed a calming influence on the sidelines. And then they really shifted gears to Patricia, which threw the franchise back another 5 years.
Calhoun. Oh,
But,
Yeah, it was Calhoun.
Caldwell, whatever his name is, right?
Oh, Caldwell.
Oh, Jim Caldwell. Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
Jim
Patricia
Caldwell
really
said-
set the franchise back. But,
Jim Caldwell, for the record.
He gave him a couple good years where they were at least a consistent franchise, I mean, what they had 8-9 wins under them every year.
UJ gives no
500
credit
a little
to Caldwell
above
for
500.
anything he's ever done in life because he made one error in judgment, and UJ will never forgive him for it.
Because the spirit of the game eludes Caldwell. When he took I got to say this one more time. I'm sorry.
He's not the only one.
Caldwell. My issue with Caldwell.
Never heard
He's
this
with the
before.
Colts. They're 14-0, running the table, and they had a chance to be immortal, run the table, win the Super Bowl, be immortal, and get those Dolphins guys can stay home from now on, and they come out when the team's going to run the table again, Anyway, 2 games to go, he starts all the starters their last 2 games, and then you get all the Super Bowl. They did lose the Super Bowl year, but that's not the point. The point is they could have been immortal. I mean, why would you pull that away from those guys? Why would you take that away? That's
and you know what? I think it came out later, UJ. The players didn't want to sit. They wanted to run the table.
You could see when they pulled him out.
Of course they
They
did.
didn't want to sit. I still remember Manning throwing his
Peyton
helmet.
definitely didn't want to sit.
Salami getting pissed. Oh, man, that still bothers me to this day. Is I'm not even a Colts fan.
Cruising over, who was it? The Jets, I think. Like they were just cruising.
Anyway,
that game too.
Yeah,
they get carried away at that point, but that's why I'll never give him for that.
So yeah,
all right.
None of
So
his success with the Lions, UJ will never give him credit.
all right, so let's near the end here. Before we go, Bear fan Dad, what is your prediction for the upcoming game here this weekend?
I think the Lions win 27-17.
Hey!
Yeah, let's go.
Whoa!
I think
But I think the Lions lose at Green Bay next week. Like
We didn't want to know
31-17.
about that.
I finally saw a sliver of hope in my life.
Wait,
and then you just
I'm
shut
like
it out.
confused right now. You're the
You-
first
you know what
man
the
to
worst-
come on here and predict your team's loss.
You know what the worst part about the Lions being around 500 and being decent is that Big Z won't win any football pools anymore because like he usually wins like 3 or 4 football pools a year. That's when the Lions win those games because everybody else is putting 16 on the other teams. So then the Lions sneak up and win like 3 or 4 games, and Big Z's winning the confidence pools. But now they're like 500 people are picking back and forth, so it's not as easy to win the pool. See?
I get it. But hey, I think you're the
Hey,
first ever
frustrating.
person who came in the den here and picked the Lions over their
You
team.
are.
Well, the Bears are in total tank job here, total tank job. But they have no playmakers left. The only playmaker left, really, I mean, Montgomery's playing for his next contract, so he's a playmaker. But Fields has nobody to throw the ball, and nor do I think he has the skills yet to throw the ball. And they don't. They're trying to tell him, don't run, don't get hurt.
Yeah.
Although that's the new NFL, you can't hit the guy anyway. So
Yeah.
maybe
don't
he'll
matter.
run for like. He ain't gonna run for
Oh.
147 against the Lions again, but I think he'll keep it close. Like that's one of the things that kind of stinks when the Lions are doing good, like they have the last 6 weeks or so, because the games that they've won, they've really dominated, and it hasn't come down to the end.
That
And
doesn't
even the
stink at all.
Carolina game, it wasn't usually a Lions game is like they're up 30-10 and they lose 31-30, right?
Yeah. Good
Right.
point.
So,
I
all right.
just agree to this characterization, Stan. You're not.
So
gonna
my
pick
prediction
the-
is that the Lions win this week, but they lose in Green Bay.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So
Hey, you got to hand
we
it to
don't,
Goff.
we don't accept it. We don't accept
Me
it.
and you, Jay, have talked about it a little bit. I know. It amazes me that the Lions fans are a lot of them are very down on Goff, and I've said it since the day that the
Are they?
Lions got Goff. I mean, he's having one of his best years of his career right now.
Yeah.
He had a couple good years with the Rams, but that was with the Rams, who were a loaded team. But even against Carolina Sunday, he had a great game. I looked at his stats. I was like, wow, the problem wasn't him; it was the defense.
And that one fumble.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, his
all right.
touchdowns.
All right. So I think we're gonna wrap up the segment here.
I think Z's trying to pull out the hook.
He's trying to shut you down.
Well,
That's
Bear
okay.
Van Dam can go on for hours, it
Where's the
seems,
hook?
right here. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, we might
Well,
even
I
bring you
think
on
this
for an
is
extended episode there.
I think this is really cool. You guys do this with this Lions thing. You guys got strong stomachs because you've been watching a lot. You guys are the most loyal Lions guys I know.
A lot of Kool-Aid, Dan. A lot of Kool-Aid.
A lot of Kool-Aid, right?
I appreciate
Sometimes
you
you just-
not sharing some of the stories from my youth about watching the Lions.
Red Dog, sometimes there's just not enough Kool-Aid.
Not on this podcast. Oh, it's flowing.
All right.
Oh, boy.
So, Bear Fan Dan, we want to thank you for entering the line. It looks like you'll barely escape thanks to your predicting your team to lose this upcoming Sunday, a first. So we will allow you to escape with your life. And I guess you are my father, so I think that means something. I guess we'll let for now. No Luke Skywalker.
He's gonna
Darth
put you in a
Vader
home as
situation.
soon as he can.
Big Z, we won't go into the year that I grounded you from watching the Lions. We won't go into that.
Nope. Appreciate
I don't know.
that.
I don't know if that was the 0-16 year. It might have been the 1-15 year.
No, it was the year that
Which
John
one?
Kitna and the Detroit Lions started off. What was it, 7-2, and ended up 7-9? It was that year.
Yeah, that year.
So, all right. We'll wrap it up here. Thank you, Bear Fan Dan. We appreciate it. And we will, I'm sure, have you on at another point in the future. Bears are continuously under 500.
Thanks, Bear Fan Dad.
Yeah, thanks,
What's the
Bear.
secret handshake to get out of this room? This Lions den.
Yeah, okay.
I guess that's the secret.
Kid J took
Found
care of
it.
Our friend Jay took him out.
Kid
So
J
there you
found the
go.
secret.
Well, that was one for the record books.
It was.
Oh,
It
my
was.
goodness.
Yeah. So just, I mean, we came by at the same time moving on to our predictions. So as I mentioned, Lions 6-point favorites. Over under 52. This is at home. Lions' last home game of the season. They will not be hosting one. If they get in the playoffs, it'll probably be the 7th seed. So make it loud, make it proud at Ford Field because it's the last one of the year there. But let's go to you, Jay, first. Let's go to your prediction.
Okay, I'll just make it real quick here. I think our defense will have a pretty solid game from last week, and we won't totally stop the run, but we're gonna. It's all the Bears do basically well, and but I think we're gonna hold them reasonably well. I'm not gonna say how many yards, but maybe 150 yards rushing or less. I think the offense. I think it's gonna be a close game in the first half, is what I think. I think the Bears are gonna. But as the second half comes around, I think the Lions are gonna run away with it. Goff and the offense are gonna light it up. I hope to see. What I'm really hoping to see this week is our run game come alive a little bit. And I know Campbell has given it some lip service this week that they're going to work on. And usually, anytime he says he's going to work on something, that thing gets better. So hopefully this week the our running game will get better. So I'm predicting over 100 yards rushing for us combined. I'm not a 100-yard rusher yet, but 100 to 150 yards rushing on the ground for us. And I think we're kind of win reasonably. I think it's going to be 31-17 Lions.
All right. Ooh, all right. Lions scored 31 last time against them. It was a 31th victory, and big comeback in the fourth quarter, if you don't recall.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That turned around this season in a lot of ways.
Was that
Let's go to
first
Rud
one?
Dog.
Yeah, so UJ had some good points there. I think we addressed some very specific things that needed to be addressed this week. Dan Campbell talked about it, and we'll get better as a run team. But like I think this game, I think now that we've kind of broke that little, pressure bubble we had of playoff talk and all that stuff, like I just think that this team's going to be refocused, and this Bears team that we beat by the hair of on our chin the first time, I think they're going to see the team that we've really become over these last 7 games. And this is going to be a whole different game. I don't think it's going to be that close. I think we're going to handle them pretty well. It'll be a tough game. They'll trade blows, but ultimately I think the Lions are going to come through this really nice with 39 points. I think the offense is just going to be humming this week. I think the run game's going to get going, and that's just going to open up Goff. And I predict that J-Mo is going to get another score this week and catch another pass for a big play. So at least 2 big plays. I think they're going to get him a little more intentional with him because it's really weird how they have it, and I think there's no reason to, unless he's hurt and we don't know about it. I think this is the week he's going to show up with some nice plays and some intentional designs to him. And so he's going to be a big part of that. And just the run game is going to be much more effective, over 100 yards. And the defense is going to get the job done for the most part. They're going to give up 1 run touchdown and a field goal. So 39-10, Detroit, baby.
All right, I like it.
Victory
I like
lead
it.
us into the playoff clincher.
I like it. So yeah, as I was kind of mentioning in the Lions Den, I think the Bears are doing what they have to kind of come play a decent game, but I don't think the organization wants to win. I think they will keep their top 2 draft pick, either for to trade back and get a bunch of draft capital, which they desperately need, or like the Will Anderson, Jalen Carter type. So I think they are coming into this game. Nobody in NFL comes to lose, but some of the decision making and maybe Justin Fields being a little more reserved in his rushing will really help the Lions win this game. I think it's going to be. I think 6 is too low, the spread. So I'm going to go. It's going to be a 10-point victory, at least. I'll go 34-20. I'll go 34-20. I think the overhit Lion home over hitting a lot. I do think the Bears do enough to make it somewhat interesting. But the Lions ultimately are going to show up here and get ready for that big game in Week 18. But they cannot look ahead, like Rud Dog mentioned in the Lions Den. They cannot look ahead. You can never look ahead in the NFL. But and I think Amon-Ra goes over 100 yards again. He went 110 for 10 catches for 110 last time against the Bears. 10 for 119, sorry. And he performs really well against the Bears. And Jamal Williams is back in the end zone this week. So there's our pins. Everybody predicts the Lions to win. Even Bear fan Dan. He even predicted the Lions to win. So I love it. I love it. I love America's on our side as well. So wow, what an episode. Finally glad to get my dad on here. I'm sure we'll get him on more in the future as well. If you like or if you want to give your prediction, go on Twitter at Drinking Lions. Set us up on there. Message us your prediction for the game. Instagram at Drinking Blue Kool-Aid. send us a message or whatever. Maybe repost your prediction on there as well. And we want to thank our producer, of course, Kid J.
Kid J.
Kid J.
Kid J.
J.
Ah.
God, you guys just don't even listen to anything.
You're bad.
Anyway.
Yes. And we also want to thank SidelineReport.com for hosting the podcast. Always greatly appreciate that. But if you somehow can't go on there and listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get a podcast, please download, please subscribe, please leave a review. Always greatly appreciate that. Especially if you've been listening for a while and they haven't left a review yet on Apple or on Spotify, it's just stars. You don't leave a comment. But either way, always greatly appreciate that. Bad or good, whatever. We appreciate all opinions. But really, that's it. This is December 28th, recording this on. We only got a few more days till New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. There's a lot of football. College football playoff, week 17 of the NFL season. Oh, I mean, this is the best time of the year. Just football everywhere, every day, almost hour. It's a lot of fun.
And the Kool-Aid is flowing. Lots of other things are flowing too. So be careful driving out there, folks. Hopefully you don't have to drive.
Yes. Drink responsibly, of course.
Yes. That's our
but
public
nonetheless,
service message for the day.
Yes. Otherwise, we want to thank everybody for listening. We really appreciate it. Have a safe, happy New Year. Well, healthy is going to be tough for us at least. But safe and happy.
Intense booze
and merry.
Inhaling is always good.
A lot of Kool-Aid. The Kool-Aid will be flowing heavily. But we want to thank everybody listening. We'll be back maybe with a New Year's Day edition of the reacting to the Lions-Bears game. We'll be watching it with Bear fan Dan. And it sounds like he'd be rooting for Lions, I guess, because he pictured them to win.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I'm rambling, but let's wrap it up. So thank everybody for listening. And last but not least, as always, go.
Happy New Year, folks. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Go Lions! Forward down the field, a charging team that will not yield. And when the blue and silver wave, stand and cheer the brave. Rock, rock, rock! Go hard, win the game. With honor you will keep your fame. Down the field and gain a Lions victory.